Everyone fights their own battles and everyone has the ability to win in their life. So male warriors, female warriors, we all have an internal battle and we all are able to and have the opportunities and choice to rise above those battles to create a better life for ourselves. And if you want to heal, you want to move forward, then all through feeling and all through heart.
I'm excited for this week's episode as I'm joined by someone who is quietly creating a powerful ripple effect in the world of men's mental health and relationship. Dane Muller, co-founder of Heart-Led Warriors.
The biggest thing is society has made it so easy for people to give up.
If you've ever struggled to understand your worth, questioned your role in relationships, or wondered how to create more meaning and connection in your life, this episode's for you. So get ready to feel seen, challenged, and inspired as Dane takes us through his journey.
I was free from myself and yet so connected to myself at the same time. And it was that feeling or that point in time where I'm like, this is what it gets to feel like. And that is the feeling that we want to share because of that feeling that I had in myself and wanting to continue to help so many people because everybody deserves to feel like this.
Dane, welcome to Share.
Thanks for having me.
I was introduced to you by your lovely wife, Nadine, and I looked into a lot of the work you're doing and I was like, I've got to get him on the podcast.
Beautiful, mate. Thank you so much for having me. And a big thank you to having this platform for people to listen into. It's a huge thing. I think podcasting, social media, when used with intent, is a very powerful tool. And what a better way to get people's messages out. So thank you very much.
No, that's all right. And obviously it's the stories of guests like yourself and many of the other guests that I've had on that are willing to be vulnerable, willing to share their insights, their reflections and their story to help empower others that kind of makes this platform work even better.
Definitely, 100%. So yeah, true strength lies in vulnerability.
So tell me, Dane, who is Dane Muller?
That's a really, really great question because I don't ask that question to any of my clients or people in our community anymore because people can get really stuck on who they are. Because in essence, I actually don't even know who I am. Because in a week's time, I'm going to be a different person from the person I am now. And tomorrow I could be a completely different person. So for me, it's a feeling. Who I am is a feeling, and that feeling is of freedom and joy and love, and that is me. So yeah.
Yeah, perfect. And what's been the most defining moment in your journey that has shaped you to the man you are today?
Realizing it was all me. The number one defining moment, and I've had the absolute pleasure of working with thousands of people throughout the years, and it's a realization I love seeing in them too when everybody stops doing this and starts doing this because you are your creator. And I got a goosebumps all over me just thinking about it. Yeah, it was the realization of it's me. Everything that in my life that wasn't working out, it was me. It wasn't the things that had happened to me. It was all me. Who could change it? Me. No one else could. And that was helped into my awareness through my wife, who we spoke about earlier, through some really dark times for myself. And there was just simple words of nobody's coming. Nobody's coming. And I didn't like hearing it at first. So it actually landed a few days later and I was like, no one is coming. I actually have to do this for myself. So yeah.
Yeah. So when I spoke to Nadine, she obviously talked through her journey, which was very powerful. Can you touch on, some of the moments in your life that have really kind of brought on those dark moments and really kind of emerged you and obviously empowered you to kind of push out the other side?
Sure. So suicidal ideation was a big part of my life for a very long time. From as early as around 8 years old. So a long time. I'm 42 this year. So it played a huge part of my life up until mid-30s, until I had my awakening, as we might want to call it. And it was all around self-worth. So I played a lot of sports when I was young, and there was a lot of attention given to me when I succeeded in sport. So that's how I thought I received love. So if I succeeded in something, I'd receive love. And this is the story that I made up for myself in my head. And when I wasn't able to succeed or do the things that I wanted to do to receive this so-called love, then I was extremely hard on myself. And those thoughts started just with the self-worth, self-doubt, which were turned into, if I didn't win or I didn't succeed in something, um, then I'd be better off not being here. The world would be better off without me because my worth was so low. So self-worth, self-doubt has played an enormous part in my life. It still does today. However, it just looks really differently where it's a driver today instead of an inhibitor.
Yep. And tell me some of the reflections around that self-doubt, that self-worth. If anyone's listening to this that are thinking, "Yep, I've got self-doubt. I don't feel worthy." What are some of the questions they need to be asking themselves or some of the reminders that they need to be putting in place?
Who do you feel not worthy to begin with? If it's outside of you, have they told you? Ask the questions. And if it's within self, why? What are you not doing in your life to create worth, or where is a reflection on your life where you're looking at all the negative things? It's really easy to go negative. So many people do it, and I make sense of that because I guess the world today steers us in that direction of that negative mindset, thinking negatively, where there's so much to be positive before. I think one of the biggest shifts in my life was practicing gratitude every day, every day. And gratitude I know people get really confused with gratitude and think they have to have these big grandiose ideas and be grateful for all the things in the world. Though the morning where I actually set an intention of I'm going to really practice gratitude and bring this into my life, because when I practice gratitude, I'm happy. I can feel proud of myself. And the morning that I started, I just said I was grateful to wake up, and with complete intent of I'm so grateful that I woke up because there's so many people in this world that aren't given that opportunity. And it was a difference for me, and it just hit me. I'm like, oh, I actually am grateful to wake up.
Hmm.
That's actually a really beautiful thing. And then from that day on, that self worth and that self belief started growing in me because I started with the simple things, and it was the little simple things that I was grateful for that showed me how much in my life I'd achieved and done. And I found pride in myself. I think for men in particular, the quickest way to self love is to practice gratitude, because then you'll become proud of yourself. Once you're proud of yourself, you'll 100% love yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Obviously, for me, when I went through my journey, it was like I found there was obviously some really dark times, but I kind of found like I was, walking through a house I didn't know. It was a bit of a maze, and I felt like I opened a door and everything that I'd packed in my life, my trauma, any experiences, any sadness, any events that had happened that have affected me, I'd kind of packed in a box, right? And I kind of felt the last 7 or 8 years has been really kind of sitting down in that room and just opening it box by box, book by book, turning page by page. And as hard as that was, and working with a psychologist and psychiatrists and working with some amazing coaches, going through that has been really empowering because each time I've gone through something as hard as it is, I've kind of gone, "Oh, wow, I am the way I am today because of that experience." I lack, I have self-doubt because early on in my life, I was affected by that, right?
Yeah.
So I'd love you to share. Obviously, you said you had suicidal ideation from the age of 8,
Yep.
which is very quite young. These
Yeah.
days, we find that some of that really comes in the kind of adolescence in the teenage years. But talk to me, what were the experiences early on in your life that kind of brought that on? What affected that?
So my it's through family life, and again, just pressure I'd put on myself from such a young age. I had my younger sister was spent a lot of time in and out of hospital from 4 years old through to still now. She still has full time care from my mum. My sister rebelled from a young age, ran away from home a lot, and I was left to my own a lot. So there was no lack of love. However, how it was shown to me was very different. So I thought I had to, like I said, succeed in things to get that attention, to feel loved and things like that, because my parents had a lot happening for themselves. So that played a huge part. My older sister, again, ran away from home quite often, quite a lot. There was around 10 years that I didn't see her. And from a young age, when your parents are in and out of the house caring for one of your siblings and working, you don't see a lot. So your siblings are become your best friends, and that played a huge toll in me as well because I didn't a few years I didn't get to spend a lot of time with my mum, so I missed out on that. And then the next woman in my life was my older sister, who then was taking off and leaving me and wasn't there for important times. So there was a lot of abandonment
Mm.
from the female that I felt. Again, none of it was intentional, no one's fault. However, that's how I felt, and my feelings are valid. So that played a huge part in it. And just the added pressure of, again, I was a really, really great young sports player. I I was really great through school, so things actually came fairly easy for me in that way of things. However, when things like that happen, there's then that expectation on me as well of, okay, if he hasn't done well, must be something wrong. And because I was going so well and everything, from the outside looking in, everyone suspects, oh no, even though this is all happening in his family life, he's doing really well here, so it's all good. So it was just the never being checked in on, I guess,
Mm.
played a huge part. And then so from a young age, I was like, I have to keep on doing this so I can actually get some attention and things like that. And when I didn't succeed, I'd be hard on myself. And then there was questions around, oh, so why didn't you go so well? So that played a huge part. And then moving on in my life, again, later, late teenagers years, having NRL clubs look at you and then not following through and not having the career that everyone thought you were supposed to have. And then starting at my own businesses, and then a few of them not going as well as what people expected on. So it's just a constant um, challenge of having these expectations or these perceived expectations from the outside that I'd built in my own head, um, and then for me failing kept on compounding of that lack, that self belief, and um, maybe this world would just be better off without me.
Yeah.
Then moving into my married life, there was a lot of things around things in my behaviors that started affecting my marriage, and all from childhood past traumas and wounds that play out in your relationships in different ways. Those compounding. And then we had a really, really traumatic childbirth with our second child. And I actually developed post traumatic stress through that and kept that hidden. And meanwhile, I'd never told anybody about this. So all this is in my head and my heart, and eventually got being diagnosed or given the labels with depression and anxiety and medicated, and all those fun things that the medical industry loves to do really quickly, unfortunately. And not to say that some of it is valid and there's a reason, but I think there's too many quick diagnoses these days. And then coming to a point of always having that fight within my head, and coming to a point of everything. And this one morning, it all got too much after an alcohol-fueled night in the bottom of the shower, and really contemplating on ending my life. And that's when my wife came in, and it all sort of it came out, and I was able to share, and she gave me some tough love, which was the best piece of love I've ever received in my life. And it was from then that things shifted for me. It was that,
Yep.
and then diving into myself and finding out, learning about generational trauma and all those things, and seeing my patterns and behaviors play out in my eldest son's life. And I'm like, if I don't change my life, I'm probably going to be at my son's funeral for the same reasons, and he may take his life. So, like, how could I let that happen? What kind of father would I be if I didn't show him how to live life properly, or to fully, or a life full of joy and love, instead of instead of not clearing my traumas, passing them on to him, and then him having his own traumas and having to deal with them. And then what if he wasn't able to have that person in his life to go, hey, you've got to do this and this and this, and then end up at his funeral? And I was just like, that's the actual reality of it.
Hmm.
So there was lots of kicks in the bum along the way, so many pivotal points, and there's still so many pivotal points. So yeah,
Tell me about, could you share what was the tough love? Can you remember what the tough love was in that shower?
100%. So she came in there and she's like, again, when I had an alcohol full night, so we were arguing and feeling very sorry for myself. I was in the shower, sitting in the bottom of the shower for about 3 hours, just going, "Why should I be here? I'm not good enough to be," like all of those types of things. And and it got to a point of like, how am I going to do it? Where am I going to do it? And she came in and she asked me, I'm just like, um, these are the thoughts and feelings I've been having. I've been having them since I was a young kid, and intuitively she knew. Intuitively she knew. They had probably at the time maybe not had the tools and resources to dive into it, or maybe hoped that it wasn't true. She came in and she's like, "Nobody's fucking coming. Nobody's coming." This is like the exact words, and the the trust in herself to allow herself to do that, because that could have gone either way. I mean, that could have pushed me to the edge or got me to where I am now, which it has. So the trust in herself and the belief in herself to go, if he makes this decision, that is his decision and his choice. So there's so much power and strength and vulnerability in that alone, knowing the trust in herself to go, okay, what we've done so far isn't working. I need to do something different. And she did, drastically different. And knowing that if I did choose the other way, then that was my choice and nothing revolved, even though it would have been horrible for her in that sort of way. So yeah, she come in, she's like, "Nobody's fucking coming." And she said, "I can write it with you, but I can't write it for you."
Mm.
And at the time I didn't feel like that was love. And I hated it because what would happen in the
Mm.
past, "Oh, it's okay, cuddles, let's go and put a blanket on you and really throw love on you," and in that type of way, which is what I thought I needed. So what I really needed is what she did for me. And it was a day or two later where I was in the kitchen, I was getting some stuff ready for my kids, and it just hit me. I was just like, "Oh, nobody is fucking coming." Like, I've had all these thoughts and feelings my entire life and nothing's changed. What do I need to do? I need to change myself. And then from that point on, I just went forward. Went forward, though, went inward.
Yeah. And tell me what those, kind of from that moment when you started asking those questions of yourself and starting to do that real inner work, what were some of the questions you asked yourself?
Why? How is this me? Um, it was beautiful because Nadine had uh, really jumped into a lot of self development, and I was a little bit slower on that. So, and creating the company that she's created, I got to hear and feel and see some of the processes that she would work on and with clients, and started running these processes on myself because I'd see my behaviors or something that I would do, or why something triggered me so much, and I could put it back to my childhood or a piece of something, a memory of why that used to annoy me. So it was, yeah, a huge piece in just in vulnerability, that beautiful word that so many men and people are really scared of. And it was a huge piece of, yeah, just allowing, being vulnerable, allowing myself to feel, leaning into that fear of I'm gonna need to hold myself accountable for all of my actions and choices throughout my life, and knowing and building trust on that as well. So a lot of people haven't done this type of work, so it's building that evidence around, okay, if I lean into this little bit of feeling that doesn't feel comfortable, what does it look like on the other side? So I do little bits and pieces at a time and figure that out and lent into it and took that accountability piece and then felt great after. So I'm like, cool, let's keep on doing those bits and pieces. So yeah,
Yeah. Do you think it's possible for people to move forward without healing the past traumas and wounds?
100%. There's so many people in the world. Look at the people that are running these 9 and 10 figure companies. And I've experienced that because I have had and mentored these men that have just recently a man that has his net worth or his company's worth is $2.2 billion. So highly successful and yet still holds a lot of trauma in and around his family. So and that's how he's got to where he is. He's showing people that's his. Oh, you'll never amount to anything. Okay, I'm going to use force and fear as my driver,
Yep.
which works for a lot of people. However, you're always going to come to a point of not wanting to do it like that anymore. So 100%, there's so many people that can be successful and have a forward trajectory in life. Though there's always that piece of I need to do some work.
Yeah, perfect. Talk to me about Heart-Led Warriors and what led you to that.
I was deep into a week long seminar training, healing myself, and there was a process. They brought some men's work into the room. It was called men's work, and we were able to have a bit of a release. And there was a piece where I was able to have this somatic and energetic release, and I just had this feeling inside of me of absolute freedom.
Hmm.
I was free from myself, and yet so connected to myself at the same time. And it was that feeling or that point in time where I'm like, this is what it gets to feel like. This is how it feels. And then in my head, I'm like, I have to show people what life gets to feel like, because how I felt before isn't what life is about. Let's do this. And literally 7 weeks later, we had our first retreat. That was 3.5 years ago now. I think altogether we're in retreat season at the moment. We just had our men's, couples, and women's this weekend, and that is the feeling that we want to share, and that is why Heart-Led Warriors was created, because of that feeling that I had in myself and wanting to share that with everybody. And again, it's really quickly grown for us, which has been a beautiful thing, and we've helped so many people now, and we'll continue to help so many people because everybody deserves to feel like this.
I'd love to ask Dane, could you share, like, what's the definition of warrior in the context of your community, Heart-Led Warriors?
Beautiful. Everyone has that inner warrior. Everyone fights their own battles, and everyone has the ability to win in their life. So you are like men, women, anyone. It's not just men. So there's male warriors, female warriors, and we all have an internal battle. We all have that internal battle, and we all are able to and have the opportunities and choice to rise above those battles to create a better life for ourselves. And it takes that inner warrior to do that. And again, peace with heart-led, it has to happen from the heart. If you want to heal, you want to move forward, then it's all through feeling and all through heart.
Yeah, perfect. And you work with men and women, couples. Talk to me, and I know you recently did a couples retreat. I know you
Yeah.
just mentioned earlier you're doing a women's retreat this weekend, which is brilliant. But talk to me, like, from my point of view, over the last couple of years, I'm really seeing this shifting dynamic. And to a certain point, there's a lot of problems in relationships. There's a lot of separations, divorces. There's a lot of shifting dynamic. And for me, I kind of see that it's like the earth is kind of shifted off its axis a little bit. Talk to me about what you're seeing there from a couple's perspective and a shifting dynamic between the feminine and the masculine.
So I think the biggest thing is society has made it so easy for people to give up in relationships. Look at the divorce rates. It's so easy now for people to go, yep, cool. We've got a few challenges. We can't. Let's just wave the white flag. The world has changed so much. It's ever evolving. The energies within are ever evolving. There's so much opportunity for women to create create companies and go out and earn an income, because there's so many families that need to have dual income, and that's fine and that's great. And I love that. One of the biggest challenges is society itself going, oh, women need to be doing this, men need to be doing this. Let's go back to how it was in the 60s and 70s, and women stay at home. No, it's not going to work that way. It
Mhm.
will never, that's perfect for that time. It's not what happens now. So how do we evolve? We allow everything. Yep, women are doing this, men are doing this. How do men be men in today's day and age? It looks very different for them. Bring those values of masculinity through, of protection, love, support, it can look very different. You can be a stay-at-home dad and still be the protector, provider, and the supporter. It just looks and feels very different. So all those values are still there. Knowing that it's okay for the world to be the way it is, how do we balance out those things within ourselves? And in a relationship, it always comes back to our communication. Always. So the again, one of the biggest things, one of the biggest challenges from the couples on the weekend was their communication. It's easy to communicate when you know how to properly, what's properly. It depends on how you receive and give information as well. And then communicating that all they want is actual time together. There's so many things within the world at the moment, within life. Life gets busy and tough, and kids are there and everything. When all these two people really, 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 really want is just time together, and yet they don't communicate that. Things come up, they argue, there's challenges, they start arguing with each other, fighting each other instead of the problem. All they really want is just to have time together. So communication, and then creating that bridge between them where that communication stays open and like, hey, I just want to have some time with you and do that thing. So yeah, there's so many things that can affect a relationship, outside noise, jobs, all of it. And yet if we don't communicate properly with each other, it's all going to go to shit. And that's why I think society has made it so easy for people to wave the white flag. I think you can probably get a divorce online these days just about. So they're making it that easy, which it sucks. It so badly sucks. And people see that. I'm not sure the actual statistic of what marriages, the divorce rate is, but it's over, I know it's over 50%, and it's horrible. It's not like people get into these ruts and argue and have these outside influences going, oh, you better split up or do it now for the kids, because if you stay together longer, it's going to make it harder for the kids. Is splitting up and not being a family for your kids harder or easier? Like, seriously, and an absolute reverence to people that do split up where it's just not supposed to be. I make sense of that, but there's so many relationships where people are separating and splitting up and divorcing where they have deep, profound love for each other. They just can't see a way past these challenges. And again, it comes back to that communication.
Yeah. Talk to me, if you were to, speak to the men listening to this, how do they show up as a better husband and partner?
Vulnerability. Firstly, there's so much fear from men in and around vulnerability. So as soon as you talk about vulnerability to a man, they think about crying and sharing feelings and things like that, where yes, that's part of it. However, vulnerability is showing up authentically as the person you're supposed to be. That's a part of it. That is sharing and feeling your emotions and speaking about what means the most to you, and just being the person that you are, so you are happy and joyful and full of love. We have so many masks on. I'm the father, I'm the worker, and it gets in the way of that. So vulnerability means lots of things. I really believe as men, we're not doing a very good job collectively. I'm putting my hand up for this as well. And that is by being the masculine man that is innate in us. We're not doing a good enough job collectively as the protector, the provider, and being the support that our families, and more importantly, our feminine needs. Like, there's why the females in their masculine energy mostly, because they don't feel safe in their feminine. But we're not allowing that as men. We're not stepping into our masculine and allowing the feminine to soften and be in their feminine energy. And that's like, biologically, we're both set up. Men are biologically more suited to be in their masculine because we're stronger, we're physically stronger. Yep, cool, we're the protective provider. The feminine, they're soft and flowy. So the females, that's more suited to them. Well, yes, we all have those energies. So as men, we're not doing a good enough job to help our women, our ladies, to be that soft, beautiful, in their soft, beautiful feminine clothes.
Yeah. I've done a number of men's retreats and attended them overseas as well. And it's interesting, one of these things, and it came up as a topic in a conversation, 12 of us were sitting around. It was towards the end of a retreat over in Vermont. And we were talking about how, there's this whole thing of women want us to be soft and they want us to be vulnerable. But the feedback from a lot of the guys in the discussion we have was as soon as we are, then it's like, "Oh, come on, be a man, be masculine," right? And it's an interesting dynamic, and it's an interesting environment and concept to, obviously discuss.
Mm. Yeah, and make complete sense of that. How are you like, what does vulnerability look like to a lot of people? I guess that's to their perception. There's definitely ways you can open up and, I guess, share how your thoughts and feelings are as well. There's yeah, I'm gonna say that if these men are doing that, then they haven't created enough evidence of what that looks like for their female counterpart, their partner. And I will also say then that would show them that their partner probably needs to do a lot of work themselves in that healing space around that masculine too, because look, so many females throughout this world have been hurt by men. And that is not because of masculinity, that's because of a lack of masculinity. And vice versa. There's so many that what they say that toxic masculinity, it's not a true thing. It's just toxic behavior. And same with the females. There's lots of men where they've been deeply hurt by the female and they don't feel safe in the feminine. So that's why they act out and be the certain way that they are. So again, there's no such thing as toxic femininity. There's just toxic behaviors in people. And um, yeah, I can make sense of it all. And it can be a double-edged sword, though. If that's happening within that relationship, that should show you that you both are needing to do some work on yourselves separately before maybe diving into some work as a couple.
Yeah, perfect. And on the flip side of that, obviously, I asked you the question on the men, on the male side of things. If you're talking to the females, what do the females need to show up or bring to a relationship and to their husbands and partners?
All men have had a mother. We don't need another mother. So there's certain things that females will do and say, and again, this is a generalization. You're not going to have the response you're wanting if you're telling the man what to do. How can you how can you get him what you want to do without telling him? Okay, the man in your life wants to be the hero. He wants to be the savior. He wants to be the support. He wants to be the king. How can you show him that he is that? Let him open the jars for it. It's like it may seem really trivial, but it's the little things like that. Getting to open a jar for you. Tell him how much you love him. Like words of affirmation for men are huge. They like as much
Mhm.
as we say or men have said that they don't need it or want it, that's exactly what we want. We want that deep love from our partners. So how can you show him that you need him in ways without telling him?
Yep. Yep. And words of affirmation is a massive one. And it's interesting, like looking at the love languages and, for me, they have changed over time from when I was 20 years old to, now just turned 41. They've changed. And for me, probably as most males, physical touch is probably one of the top ones, right? That for us men we need.
Yep.
But for me, I would say probably quality time and words of affirmation are probably my top two now.
Oh, 100 words of affirmation for me. I wanna hear that my wife's proud of me. I wanna hear that I've done a good job, and if that's the little boy in me saying that, then that's what I need and I want to feel great about myself. Yes, I feel great about myself anyway, but that's what I wanna hear from my partner. So, like, have these conversations with the person, your significant other. What do you want from them? It's nothing to be like, people are so worried about hurting someone else's feelings, though you're hurting your own feelings by not sharing, not letting them know, "Hey, this is what I want in my relationship. This is like, if
Mm.
you do this for me, I'm gonna be an open book for you. I'm gonna be this, and this." So, have the conversations with your significant other around the things that you want in the relationship. bring it back to yourself, and it's nothing that they're doing. It's just the things that you want, and then ask the question, what do you need from me? What do you want from me to help you feel like I love you more and love you deeper? Because like you're with your life partner for a reason, and we're doing so
Mm.
many things in our relationships that are actually separating us, driving that barrier between us. We're losing connection, communication. Why wouldn't you want to be the best partner ever? Like, why wouldn't you want feedback on how you could be better? What am I doing? What am I doing great in our relationship at the moment? And I'll do more of that, because that'll lessen the things that you aren't being or doing great at. You know?
Yep.
So it's not necessarily about removing things. It's about doing more things that you're doing well already. Just turning up the dial on it.
Before we get back into the episode, from time to time you might have a burning question, a guest recommendation, a comment or some feedback, which I always appreciate. If so, I'd love to continue the conversation after this episode, so let's connect. I'm easy to find, but the best place to engage and connect is on Instagram, @TheSteveHodgson. But that's enough from me. Let's get back into the episode.
Yep. Now, obviously in your Heart-Led Warrior, when you're doing your couples retreats, obviously there's varying types of couples that come to you. I'm guessing there's ones that are really just are in a good place and they want to strengthen things. There's people that are in a really bad place and kind of just want to see if they can repair things, that they can get back on track. Is there an example? Obviously, don't need to share details, but is there an example or a couple that really kind of sticks in your mind, an example that you can share that just really kind of hammers home how you can go from broken to, being back on track and moving forward together?
Yeah. So probably four of the couples from the last weekend. We had five beautiful couples. Four of them literally came in with basically make or break. One of the couples had been doing a lot of work over the years, and they were there to expand more, learn more about each other, dive into themselves a little further, and expand more. So there was a vast difference between one couple and the other four. And the other four again come in with that. If we can't figure something out, then this is probably our last ditch effort. So just the exact example of what I was talking about before, just them actually telling each other what they want, and what they actually wanted was just time together. So
Mm.
with all of their own shit going on within, and then these traumas and triggers that they have from childhood, they aren't able to express that to them. So giving them the tools and resources and showing them how each other give and receive information or communication a little better just opens up that, and they leave there with a completely different perspective on what a relationship gets to look like as well. Like we're Nadine and I push for and are huge believers in the honeymoon period never has to stop. It's always going. So bringing more fun, more joy into your life, making your date nights simple. Simplicity is the key here. And we show them that because the things that we do on the retreat are actually really simple. It doesn't need to be your big date nights that cost $500 for a beautiful meal out somewhere. You can sit on your back deck or back veranda and have a couple of bits of toast. It's just that intentional, devoted time to each other that your soul's desire.
Yep. And I think when you're looking at couples retreats or even, men's retreats and women's retreats, but men's retreats that I've been on, I've always said it's like going to a psychologist or a psychiatrist. The work, as important the work is when you're in that retreat or you're with that psychologist, the real work is outside of that.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. It's something that the men in particular, there's been lots of retreats in the past where we're really big on that. We're like, hey, this is just a retreat. Yes, this is going to give you the capacity to think a little clearer, feel a little better, remove some of these things in your life that have been weighing you down. However, the real work starts tomorrow. When you leave
Mm.
here, the world is still the same. You've had this complete internal shift, and you're looking and feeling very differently. However, everything outside of you is still exactly the same. You're going to have the people that annoy you. You're going to have the things, and for the first week, 2 weeks, month, it's not gonna take an effect on you though. If you are not going to continue doing the work that propels you forward, all of these triggers, all of these things that annoy you are going to compound again, start filling up that backpack of bullshit, as we call it, and weigh you down again. And you're going to get in that negative mindset, and you're going to do this. So we really lean in on that, letting them know, hey, this is the 3 days that you need to get you to a point to actually take yourself forward as well.
Yep.
And the support that we offer after is hugely important for us in helping them move into the next phase, just putting some things in their life, whether that be um, doing a breathwork session once a month, or diving in and doing one of our 3-month programs, or joining a platform, whether it's through us or through some other mentor or program through someone. I would love to work with everyone that comes through the retreats further, and I'd say 90% of them do, and I love that. However, I just want people to continue doing the work on themselves to take themselves further, because it's only going to benefit them and their families even more. Like this, as I said, the feeling that they have that day in the retreat where they leave, where they're feeling free and connected, that gets to get better. The more you do, the better that it will get.
Yep. Talk to me about, obviously there'll be people listening to this, and I've experienced this talking to friends and family and people out there in retreats. One of the key things that comes up is that, whether it's a male or a female that has reached a point where they've had this awakening and they want to kind of learn more about themselves. They want to unpack their boxes in their room and really kind of learn more about themselves and be a better version of themselves, but their partner doesn't want to. So what advice would you give to men and women out there that have a partner that doesn't want to unpack the boxes, doesn't want to make those steps forward?
Yeah, you're never going to make anyone or force anyone to do anything they don't really want to. Sometimes a little bit of gentle persuasion may help. However, the biggest piece of advice is, and I get so many, it's great that you brought this up, because I do have so many wives, girlfriends, partners land in and go, how do I get my husband to do this? He needs to do all this work. And the first question I'll ask them is, are you doing the work? And they'll say, no. I'm like, cool. How does he know this work's going to work? Okay. In a relationship, we are each other's biggest mirrors. If your partner needs work, guess who else needs work?
Mm.
And for people that are already sort of doing the work and they want to have their partner along, I'll ask the question of, are you wholeheartedly giving this work everything it needs for you to grow? And if they say no, okay, cool, we'll dive in, live it, breathe it, embody this person that you want to become, and show them what this work can do. Show them the person you become, because it's exactly what happened with Nadine. She kept on pulling me along, and I was doing the work for her, until she's like cut the cord and just went all in for herself. She lived it, she breathed it, she embodied it, she spoke it. And I had no other choice to look at it after that. I'm like, cool, I used to do this and it used to really annoy her, it used to trigger her, and then we used to have an argument. That's not happening anymore. Why is that? So I start to question it, and then I start to see it. And then she would help me unpack things in my life. Like, well, okay, so why is this? Why is that annoyed you? What happened? As uncomfortable, and I was open to it, yet I hadn't sort of dove into the work myself. So if you are a partner and you are starting the work or in the work and they're not doing it, are you completely embodying it, or are you just sort of doing it? Just sort of doing it isn't going to give them what they need. And if you are someone that wants your partner to do work and you're not doing the work, how can you show them that the work's going to do what you want them to do? Everybody needs evidence.
Yeah, perfect. Now, Dane, as a dad, we're both dads. Talk to me. Obviously, our kids of today, our sons of today and our daughters of today are the kind of, men of tomorrow, the women of tomorrow. How do we show up as parents, and how do we show up as dads to really, build those and, I suppose help those generational changes, and, let them be heart-led warriors as they grow up?
We have to show them to begin with. So again, the old saying of do as I say, not as I do, isn't in. It's actually do as I do, not as I say. So we can tell our children as fathers, be proud of yourself, do this, believe in yourself. And they're just words. Kids need evidence of that. So how can you show them? Be proud of yourself, be confident in yourself. So lead by example. Everything we learn as human beings is from a learned behavior through parents or the people that we spend most of our time with, right? So if you want your children to be a certain way or show them how to be these self-led, heart-led human beings, we have to show them. We can't
Yep.
say it. So if you want your children to be confident and be assertive and loving and all of the beautiful things that we get to experience as human beings, then you have to be that. So again, if you want change, you have to be the change.
Yep. When it comes to future generations, what fills you with optimism?
The fact that we have so many people coming and doing what they do through us. So many people say there's not enough people doing this work. Well, there's enough. There needs to be more, but seeing the men and the women and the couples coming in and doing this, not only through us, but through so many other avenues and organizations that may help, that gives me optimism and hope for the future. I truly feel there's a huge shift happening at the moment, and there's a bit of a divide. You might call it left and right, and depends whatever people I look at. There's just a shift, and it's like a complete awakening for some people where they're like, this is what life gets to be like. We're being kind of taught to think and move a certain way by whether that's governments or people or whatever you want to say, but there's a real shift and a divide right now where people are like, oh no, life gets to look differently if we want it to. And that gives me hope, and that gives me, I know that the future will be bright because, again, the more people that are seeing and feeling what life gets to be like and look like, the more it's going to rub off on people. There's that ripple effect of the men coming in doing the men's work, and then they get home and their wives may come in and do some work, or they start reading a book that provides some insight onto why they think a certain way. There's so many little things. Once you do one thing for yourself, the ripple effect of that has huge effects.
Yeah. And that's why I started this podcast very much, was sharing the stories, because it's sharing positivity, it's sharing reflections, insights. And, for me, it's always about just one person, right? If one person can get something from it, those people can improve. They may inspire someone else to improve, and it's a flow-on effect of that. And I think that's how easy it can happen, right? By me sharing the stories and introducing people to guests such as yourself that are doing some amazing work, and your wife, Nadine. Someone will listen to this, and I'm hoping that there'll be a couple on your next couples retreat, or a couple of couples that come from this podcast episode.
Yeah,
and
beautiful.
That's we all lead each other to different people.
Yeah.
And if we all kind of stick together, the ripple of effect of that can obviously make waves.
Oh, 100%. And that's what I say, because we like our retreats and things, we film, we put the content out there for people to see, and we have absolute approval from everyone that is in our that is on our socials. And I say it to the men because there are some people that come in that feel a little bit, I'm not sure if I want to share this about me. We don't share any of their stories or anything like that. We share the visual. By the end of it, they completely change their mind, because I say to them at the start, I said, you're here because you've seen someone on our socials. You could be that person. What if you get someone here because of what they see in you? Someone may not like listening to me, because I can tell all the people to come and do this and speak all of the things, though it's through the things that people see of others doing that gets them here. So what happens if there's a cliff of you that you might be in a bit of a vulnerable state that urges someone to get or do some work for themselves, and what if that saves their life? That's the reality of it. That's the ripple effect of it. That's what can happen. And by the end of the retreats, the people that were like, oh, I'm not sure if I want to share, they're like, share everything. If this what gets to feel like, I want all of my brothers and sisters in this world to feel like this, because if everyone felt like this, the world would be it already is a beautiful place, but even more beautiful place.
Yeah, perfect. Now, I spoke to Nadine, and I asked her about what are some of her non-negotiables she's put into her life. I'd love to ask you, what are your non-negotiables you've put into your life?
You know what, Steve? It's not what I've put into my life, it's what I've taken out of my life. I think is more important. A lot of people will tell you, you need to do this, you need to do this. And yes, there are definitely things you need to do to expand. though, until you weed or prune the garden, there's not much room there. So my big things, the non-negotiables are I grew up in a culture of rugby league, so it was football clubs and drinking and things like that. So I removed that from my life completely. There's a huge piece of identity there for me. So the drinking and getting to the pub and stuff, it just doesn't. I don't need it. And then the person I became after a few beers wasn't the person that I liked. So I removed that, and a big part of removing that was removing people that were in my life that would lead me to, again, complete reverence for my own choices in that. However, uh, editing relationships that didn't serve their purpose to me anymore. I'll have reverence and love for every person that has been in my life and what they've done, and because I wouldn't be the person I am today without that. Though there's certain people and areas that I just don't need to be around anymore. So it was the non-negotiables of not going back to old relationships, letting go of those, and then the things that would lead me to a person that I didn't like to be.
Yeah.
So
And it is true. As you grow, you do leave people behind.
It is.
Or
And
people leave you behind. You know.
whatever you need to do to, again, we just change tables. We talk about it all the time. Change tables, edit the relationships. That could be family. I've done huge pruning in and around my family. I don't want to be around. I refuse to be around negative people. Okay, I know I can't help that all the time because you got to come in contact, but I can limit the time I spend in the area with those people. And some of those people were my family, and I've edited those relationships. And some people in society will tell you, no, you have to be there for your family, for everything. Like my family and my wife and my kids. Yes, I have my family that brought me up. I actually don't owe them anything. Yes, it was their choice to have children. This is my mum. My father passed in October, though my mum and my sisters, they will always be my family, though my family is my family, my wife and my kids.
Yep. Yep. Obviously, we're always growing. You've grown a lot. I know I've grown a lot, but I'd love to know what's one thing that you're working on right now to really unlock the next stage of your growth?
That is a fantastic question. I'm not sure I've ever been asked that before. And a number of things, and it's through the help of, again, my mentors. We've always got people in our corner. It's just a further dive inward. I've recently unlocked and discovered a repressed memory, I've taken myself to some deep places to remove things from my life. And it was only recently that this repressed memory come up, and I actually questioned myself around that. I'm like, why is this only coming up now? I've done all this work, and and I knew it was because I wasn't ready to receive the message from it just yet, which is fine. And if like, the reason why I'm saying this is if I've done all these years of work and I'm still finding things out for myself, everyone's going to have things continuously. We're on a never ending journey of growth and healing. And I think everyone needs to be open to that. And a 3-day retreat isn't going to heal you. You're going to heal parts of you. So there's a continuous thing. But for me, Steve, it's just a further dive inward, a continual dive inward. There's always things that pop up within your life that play out a certain way at a certain time, and figuring those out, leaning into those things, wanting to be more for my clients, wanting to be more for me, wanting to be more for my family, and in my relationship. So it's more of what am I bringing into my life to further, and it's the people that I bring into my life. Nadine and I have now gone outside of Australia to bring people into our life. I think we're a little behind at times in Australia with what we have here to heal and grow. So we're definitely we've got we've just got back from the US. We've spent some time with some hugely pivotal people that are monsters in this industry to learn, to grow, and to heal further ourselves. Trips to Spain and Mexico throughout the year to do the same, and we're going to bring that back to the country. So in doing the work for us, we're actually able to expand our company and do more for the people that we serve here.
Yeah. It's interesting you say we're behind the times a little bit, and having attended retreats over in America, heading over to one in Italy in October. It's interesting that I find in Australia, a lot of the men's groups, especially, a lot of them are like, oh, we're going to go to the pub for beers, or we're going to have, and everything's like kind of centered around some of this stuff to get men in.
Yep.
I don't think the majority of the men's groups out there that I see are actually doing the work that men need.
No, no, definitely not. There are some fantastic, and look, and to any of those men's groups that are, just knowing that men have support, I think is a great thing. However, that support may not be doing the thing that you're actually sorting after to do. You could be enabling behavior that doesn't need to be there, like going for the beers or late nights out or things like that. Though, I think support is number one. Yeah, definitely. I think there's some people that move into this industry and they may not have the truest of intentions, because there is, it's like any business that runs well, it's going to be profitable. And people see these online ventures, coaches, mentors doing great work and making great amounts of money and just creating this income for themselves to live these lives that they're living. And people go into that and do some courses and things, and maybe their intention isn't 100% right. It's based around the creating an income instead of creating change and service, where you see the people that are actually doing really well in the industry and they're actually there for the right reasons. The people that are successful in leading men and women to their best version of themselves are the one with the purest intentions. And I truly believe that's why we had the success that we have, because look, if it was possible, Steve, I would 100% run my retreats for free, run my programs for free.
Yep.
I would 100% do that. Unfortunately, it's not possible. I could go out and get a job to help fund and do some free things, but at the capacity that I'm doing it, it wouldn't be possible. I'd probably run one retreat every 3 years and maybe one group. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting, some of the men's groups, and I agree with you, and I say the same thing. I'd rather see a men's group be there and a space for support for men than not be there at all.
Yep.
But I attend some men's groups or men's events, and I have a higher awareness going through the retreats that I've been through, and you would be exactly the same. And I'm sure you sometimes sit in some rooms or go to events and kind of go, you can kind of pick up that there's men in the room or people in the room that want to go to a deeper level, but they're at the level that people are comfortable at.
Yep.
And as we know, you don't grow at a comfort level.
No.
You grow through discomfort.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's why we have the success we have from our retreats and our programs and all the things that we provide. And we, like, the number one value for people is safety. So I think the biggest piece for anyone moving into this or providing this type of work is allowing or having the trust and allowing the people to feel safe to do what's needed at these retreats. So when you've got people for 3 days or 49 hours, our retreats are to get that trust and safety for them, to allow them to do what they really want to do, is a huge piece. And again, if people aren't feeling safe within themselves through you, they're not going to get the result. So I think that goes to show, again, why we're having the success we have, because we have built that trust, built that safety, even for people that we haven't had much of a conversation with, whether it be online or via the phone. They're at our retreats for a reason. It's what they've seen, and then seeing people let go and let themselves be vulnerable online. They've got a part of trust and safety in us before they even get there. So we just need to build on that really quickly as well.
Yeah. In the past, Dane, success to you would have been getting an NRL contract, right, and making all this money. Talk to me, how do you define success, and what is success for you today?
Seeing my children full of joy and happiness. And you know what? I haven't thought about it
You've
this
just given me goosebumps.
I
You've just given me
I I
goosebumps.
haven't thought about it this way before, so thank you for this because, I mean, we can look at joy and success. My opinion could change tomorrow, though. Right now,
Yep.
we homeschool our kids. We've just spent the last 3.5 years traveling around Australia in our caravan, so our kids are with us 24/7. I have a 9-year-old and an almost 6-year-old, and they're at that age where they wanna do their own thing and stuff, but the fact that we can have so much time with them and they never want us to leave. Like when
Yep.
they don't want us to go to the retreats. They make sense of why, but they're like, "Oh, we wish you could stay." To me, that's success right there.
Yeah.
Knowing that we spend every day, every single waking moment with our kids, and yet when they have an opportunity to be away from us, they don't want to be away. So for me, that right now is success.
Yeah. Perfect. I love that.
Mm.
And who would you say in your life has been your greatest teacher?
My kids. Oh, my kids. And I've said it, they are our greatest leaders. They have led me to the person I need to be for myself and for them. And funnily enough, my dog, um, he came into my life. And look, I'm not my dad, my mum, they've been great. But from what I've learned about myself in the latter years, my children by far, my wife, and my dog, when we first started traveling, he's a 35 kilo American Staffy, so just a ball of muscle and play, and he's 4 years old now, though he's a little much for the boys to walk and Nadine to walk. Nadine's not, she's only a little petite thing herself. And so I'd have to get up I used to think I had to get up to walk him every morning. And this is, again, early on where I was having these darker moments. And what I realized when diving into myself and sort of learning about my spirituality, that Nadine calls him my twin flame. So she's supposed to she's like, "This is your twin flame." I'm like, "Cool." He wasn't getting up for me. He wasn't getting up for himself to walk. He was getting up because he knew I needed to be outside. I needed to see the sun every morning, get there's so many things. So my dog, my kids, my 2 boys, Beckham, he was the catalyst to so much change in our life. That moment of that traumatic birth where I literally thought I thought Nadeem was going to die. I thought he was going to die. Thought I was walking out there as a widowed single father. And it was in that moment where everything worked out just fine, and he's a beautiful, healthy 5-year-old boy. It was in that moment where I realized that, or I was shown that I wasn't living a life that was helping me. I ended up quitting the job that I was in that day and starting the path to where we are now.
Yeah, perfect. Awesome. Now, Dane, if I could raise everyone's awareness across the world at the moment, I could tune in and let you whisper some advice to each and every person in the world, and it was translated in languages. What would you want to say to them?
I'm going to, particularly men, I receive so much negativity in and around what we do, comments, the DM, especially of late, because I've definitely lent into it a lot more, and it's given me the message that I need by leaning into it. I'm going to lean into it a lot harder. The biggest challenge men face is men. There's no support from other men. I make sense of what they see isn't what they feel or want to do, and that's okay. However, for the men that do want to do it, support them. Instead of slandering and using profanity and those things, show your fellow man support in no matter what he wants to do, whether it looks like this through us, where it looks like going to a psych, however he wants to better himself, fucking support it. 9 suicides a day in Australia, 7 of those are men. And I truly believe a big piece of that is because men aren't supporting men. Outside of Australia, it's very similar. Like the comments and hate that I receive is insane, and it just shows me that we're starting to move the needle properly now. So bring it. I love it, and I'm going to lean into it more. And there will never be change until there's enough support from men. Okay, but it truly won't happen. So the message I have for men right now, whatever language that could get translated into, is if you were to see one of our reels or one of our clips and you're going to slander it, think about that being your brother, your father, your best mate, your son. And if that was the only opportunity he had to help himself feel better, and the only reason he didn't go is because you were going to slander it or say something bad about it or laugh at it, and then they were to take their life, how would you feel?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that is the fucking reality of it right there. There's so many men that I know would love to do this work and yet hold themselves back in fear of judgment from other men.
Yep.
So until that changes or there's a huge shift in that, those suicide rates are going to keep on rising.
Yeah. Mate, if we were in person right now, I'd just want to give you a big hug, because that's just beautiful, mate. Men supporting men. And I think that really is the crux of, where we need to break the stigma and break the old beliefs and the old generational weight that is resting on our shoulders, is actually supporting men to be men in the way they want to be men, right? And that's just such an important point. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Being a man today looks so different to how it was for our fathers, our grandfathers. I can't cry, I can't show emotion because my father didn't and his father didn't, and so on and so on. That worked back then. That was what was needed back then. It doesn't work today. It's not, and it's why it's all these traumas and triggers and everything have been passed on to us, and it's our chance to break that generational curse. So, like, you can either choose to face it, or you can choose to turn your back to it. Though, if you're turning your back to it, guess who you're giving it to? Your children.
Yeah. Yeah. Dane, I want to just thank you and really honor the time and space that you've given us today. The insights, reflections you've shared have been amazing. And I know a lot of people listening to this would have got a lot out of it. For those that want to kind of, dive in a little bit deeper and connect with you, what's the best way to connect with you?
Mate, we are heartled_warriors across all social media platforms, heartledwarriors.com.au. The website's there. Look, land in. Instagram's probably your best. If you want to have a chat with me, it is me in the DMs. Just land on in. If you want to create a conversation, if you want to find out more, if you just follow along, have a look at the pages. Instagram's your number one, our most used tool. We've got free Facebook pages. I can help lead you anywhere in that space to give you a better feeling about what we do or what it looks like. So yeah, thank you. And Steve, again, I've really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much. And again, thank you for this platform and sharing the conversations that you are to create that ripple effect as well. It's a beautiful thing.
No, and I think we've both enjoyed the conversation. As I said before we hit record, this is going to be a great conversation because it's in both our wheelhouses. And I look forward to catching up with yourself and Nadine in the future in person. And,
yes, definitely.
And trying to see where we can collaborate into the future as well, because
100%.
Collaboration is a big thing of sharing.
It is.
All of our strengths and kind of, making sure that we impact as many people as we can moving forward into the future.
Definitely, mate. And just saying that, I think in this space, there's competition's great, right? So competition can actually cause a divide between a lot of people. And if you're not willing to, the world is big enough. There are so many people. We're not going to steal anyone from anyone. If people don't want to work and do the work through us and go to someone else, I'm all for it. So it's not about competition, it's about collaboration. How can we help humanity more?
Yep. It's the scarcity versus the abundance mindset.
Yes, it is, truly. Truly.
And I think, some people, like, you'd be the same, right? If you're going to listen to a podcast, you'll listen to people that you're drawn to, that relate to you. There'll be other people that don't, but then, your best mate probably listens to some of those, right? And it's about making sure that people have, the options out there to channel and tune into the frequency that best serves them.
Yeah, 100%. Well said.
So, all good. All right, mate. We'll catch up soon. Thanks you very much for your time.
Appreciate it.